So as someone who's not particularly feminine, it might be a bit of a crazy idea for me to do a makeup course, but I do have a few reasons. My makeup background, I basically have none. I used to do ballet and my mum did my makeup way back when I was really tiny. But, you know, as an adult, all I really know how to do is eyeliner and eyeshadow, and only in this sort of goth style, very basic. I use very cheap, very old black eyeliner pencils that I probably got maybe 10 years ago because yeah, I don't dress up that often. I went through a huge period of depression where I just didn't really do very much. And just fell out of the habit. When I was younger, experimented a bit, but yeah, fell out of it. It's easy to be lazy. And so these really cheap eyeliner pencils, they're hard to use and I don't know what I'm doing. So I put it on kind of thickly and then cover up any of the mistakes with just the eyeshadow, and it's like, it looks weird, I meant it. And that's kind of my approach, is just like, make it dark, that'll do. But yeah, no, there's a few things I've realized. Like lately, I'm trying to do my makeup more because I am trying to break out of that lazy, slob, depressed, low energy kind of vibe. And there is that whole dress for the life you want thing, which, you know, like it doesn't sound like something that should work, but it kind of does. Like if you dress to be lazy that day, what are you going to do? You're probably going to be lazy. Now, I don't have anywhere in particular to go, but if I put stuff on, maybe slowly it'll shift my psychology. Psychology is weird. And so I'm trying to do it every day. I also realized that glasses, particularly my glasses, because they're kind of strong, they make my eyes look smaller, and so actually I probably like how it looks better without glasses. But anyway, that's just a side note there. I guess I've been noticing more stuff about my appearance, but yesterday was like my first day of really trying to wear the makeup more often, and when I took it off in the afternoon, it was kind of early in the afternoon, so I didn't need to take it off that early, but I was starting to like accidentally try and rub my eyes and was getting like, you know, eyeshadow powder on my fingers. So I thought, I'll take it off. But when I took it off and I looked in the mirror, that's when I sort of felt like, oh, that doesn't feel right somehow. And I think what's happened is that having the dark eyeliner has sort of put my brain into that mode where like the darker part of me is really connecting to it. And the darker part of me sort of runs a lot of my creativity. You know, like I did have gone through phases where I thought, oh, I'm only creative when I'm depressed. But that's actually not true. When I'm depressed, I tend to just become a blob. The times when I'm most creative are when that more darker, like different kind of darkness, not depression darkness, more like violent darkness. I'm not a violent person, but there's like that piece of me that thinks it's violent, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't. That's just how my brain works. But yeah, I think that part of me connected with it. And so today when I put on the makeup, I also really noticed it when I was walking my dog, even though I couldn't see myself. Like, okay, of course I saw myself in the mirror as I was putting it on. And then we've got a few other like reflective surfaces in the house where I caught, you know, a glimpse of myself. But yeah, something about the way that I was feeling shifted. And as I was walking, I also had this weird feeling that I should have been wearing heels, or at least a shoe that's not as flat as the lazy shoes I was wearing. I have these slip-on ones that I got when I went to visit my relatives in Japan, and in Japan you have to take off your shoes a lot, so it's better to have a slip-on, and I usually wear that just when I walk my dog. So I'm only going to be out for 15 minutes. I can't be bothered to tie up my shoelaces and all that, but yeah, no, I had this really weird sensation as soon as I left the house that I should have been wearing heels, or at least something with a little bit of a heel instead of just dead flat. So already the makeup's changing my self-image, and I have noticed sometimes with clothes, when you wear certain kinds of clothes, it can change the way you feel, which I consider myself to be a logical kind of person, so it's really weird when that kind of stuff happens. I don't know if it's an emotional thing. I am a bit detached from my emotions. I have schizoid personality disorder, so I think my emotional range is smaller than most people's, and I'm also just not that aware and perhaps in denial of the emotions that I do have. It's confusing, like, learning about this stuff, but also learning about, like, my traumas and questioning why I am the way I am, because, you know, being depressed all the time does suck, and having anhedonia does suck. But yeah, no, just noticing that kind of a weird vibe. and with different clothes that I wear. Like today I'm wearing just a shirt, but this is one of the tighter fitting ones. Not too tight, just a little bit tight. I have noticed in the past though, when I wear like much tighter, like body fitting stuff, more of that gothic kind of thing, maybe like just the strappy kinds of things instead of like with sleeves, sleeveless, that's what I mean. I'm so bad at fashion words. It's hilarious that I even got a fashion collab, seeing as I know nothing about fashion. But yeah, no, wearing certain kinds of clothes, it sort of holds your body differently. And that does kind of change how you feel. Like if you're sort of all, you know, your posture's crap and you're all like this and you're sort of a blob, you're gonna feel more like a blob. Whereas if you stand up and sort of like, you know, puff your chest out a bit and hold your core in and whatever, these physical things do change the way you feel. And like, it's probably obvious to other people, but for me, as someone who's like, oh, I'm so logical for most of my life, you know, like I have come across this idea a few times, but I always forget. It's weird how I can forget things, especially when I'm in a really depressed mood. I guess you just can't really control how you think and feel when those things hit. But yeah, no, so the way that you look can change a lot of that stuff. It's like a legit thing. And, you know, when I look at other people's experiences, apparently, yeah, there's that. Some of it is also like the way people react to you, but I don't really go out that much. So it's more than just that, because this is just me doing my own thing. So yeah, thinking about that, if I dress a certain way, will that give me more energy? And, you know, maybe it's not so much that, maybe it's that darker part of me that's like seeing my self-image and is reacting. You know, we talked about, do I have dissociative issues? Quite possibly, but like what kind, we don't know. But yeah, so this is probably not going to apply to everyone who's depressed or schizoid or whatever, because I have something else going on. I don't understand it. But yeah, there's that. So also though, like if we're talking about the sciencey, oh, I'm so logical and sciencey, I am a little bit curious about experimenting with the makeup, just because like the day that I saw a makeup tutorial, because I never watch makeup tutorials, but for some reason I stumbled onto one. You know how YouTube is like it'll recommend stuff and you're like, I don't know why this is in my feed, but I'll click it anyway, and then you're watching it. So the first time that I watched a makeup tutorial that had foundation in it, that blew my mind. The idea that like people put an extra layer on that's the same color as their skin, and then like, because it makes everything flat, then they have to like put all the like shape back into your face with other products. And I just was like, why do you do it that way? Why not just go with the regular like shading of your face? I don't know, maybe they're trying to cover up like little speckles or something, and then they want to look plastic. I don't really get it, but it sort of blew my mind that so much effort goes into these people who do the whole makeup thing. So like, there is a bit of that scientific detached curiosity of like, how does this actually work? So there's some of that, but no, getting back to the more of the like, maybe trauma-based or like psychology, like why am I this way? One of the things that I've been questioning is like, I mean, I don't think I've really had good female role models in my life, which is a bit of an odd thing to say, seeing as I went to an all-girls school for 13 years. But, you know, like girls' school, there's only a certain amount that they teach you, and I didn't really have anyone that I looked up to at the school. I'm talking more about in my family life. So in my, you know, home family, it's very male dominated, and I remember writing a letter to my parents about that, I think on the emotional side. Now, I didn't realize that I was probably trying to express something about like emotional neglect and, you know, the childhood attachment trauma. Like I have glass child trauma because my youngest brother's disabled, and I think my parents just, you know, I mean, obviously they had to put all their energy into the disabled kid, but I think also they weren't really psychologically equipped to raise a female. So, you know, my other brother did a lot better than I've done, and I'm the one who screwed up. I was also the firstborn. I was the, you know, the high achieving kid in school. So it was like, oh, she doesn't need help, we'll just let her do her own thing. So I was kind of left to myself a lot of the time in that sense, and yeah, not getting the emotional support. Mental health awareness wasn't as much of a thing when I was growing up, so that didn't help. So there's all these different factors, but I think you know, my mum, she can do the feminine stuff when she wants to, but she's not a particularly feminine person, she's not a particularly emotional person, and she never taught me anything about makeup. Of course, I was probably a bit resistant but I think that's also growing up in a male-dominated household and seeing my brothers get all the attention. I think when I wanted to be a boy is probably like child me subconsciously looking at that going, oh, the boys get everything, I would rather be a boy. That's not the logic that I consciously had, but I think that's probably why I was drawn to some of that. And so I would have been like, ooh, I don't want to wear makeup, the boys don't wear makeup. It's probably something like that. So even if my mum had tried, maybe I wouldn't have done that, but I didn't even I don't know, there's also other things. I don't have pierced ears. I think that's partly a cultural thing as well though, because my mum's from Japan and she said in Japan, back in her day, no one really pierced their ears, they used clip-ons, and it's only when she came to Australia and they didn't have much selection for clip-on earrings that she finally got her ears pierced as an adult. And so, while all my friends in like primary school or preschool were getting their ears pierced at the age of 7 or something, my mum never pushed it on me and we didn't really even have the conversation about it. So like there's a lot of these female experiences, like I know they're stereotypically female and I don't have to go for all that, and I'm never gonna get piercings probably because I also have this like aversion to pain, which apparently not everyone does, but and also like the aftercare and stuff, and I've heard things about when things have gone wrong and I'm just like, I can't be bothered. But the makeup stuff is temporary. Like I've colored my hair in the past and that's because it's temporary, and if I don't like it I just shave it off. And the makeup thing, I can just put it on, and if I don't like it I can just wipe it off. So I guess that's why I'm a bit more open to it now. But yeah, thinking about like not having had female role models, I guess I'm questioning, like, did I miss out on something here? Would that be kind of an interesting thing to try? And also, like, obviously if I did a makeup course, them being very female dominated, my brain, this thing is like pushing onto my brain. But yeah, no, the whole thing about makeup courses being female dominated could be interesting to just be around like girlier chicks and see what that's like. Like when I did the Hallow Scream scare acting thing, that was an interesting experience because I was around actors and I haven't really been around that many actors. Like, yes, I did drama in high school a little bit. I was really shy and so I shouldn't have been there, but like it was still interesting to learn about acting. I think I'm curious about things that I suck at. And then when I was in music school, I also did a couple units of drama with the music theatre students, and like they're really, it's crazy. Like you'd just be sitting around and all of a sudden one of them would start singing and they'd all just like break out into song completely like out of the blue, and like people would just pick up different parts without any kind of discussion. It's an interesting thing. Anyway, no, hanging out with the actors at the scare acting job, that was interesting too, because like they are more social people and I don't think I've really been around that. Like even my extended family, so like I haven't had a huge amount of connection to my Japanese family because they're in Japan, but my Aussie family, there's a bit more nerdiness going on. There are a lot of them are like the doctors and lawyers kinds of people, accountants or whatever, businessy types. Not particularly creative. Like my Aussie family's connection to creativity tends to be like going to art shows, especially my grandma. She used to take me to the art gallery when I was little. And so yeah, like, it's not about making art, it's more about viewing art and sort of, I don't understand viewing art. I'm more of a maker. I don't really connect just looking at something. I'm like, oh yeah, shit, hey. I can appreciate the skill that went into that, but I kind of don't care. I would rather be making the art. And this is a general thing for me, is I would rather be doing the thing than watching other people do the things. Anyway, so why was I talking about that? My extended family, who I've had the most exposure to, tend to be that more businessy type. And yeah, like I did spend time with my grandma, but she tried to make me girly, but her way of making me girly was to buy me dresses rather than makeup kind of stuff. And like the pink dress that she got me that one time was really not the go. But yeah, no, also, like I said, when I was younger, probably would have been a lot more resistant to trying anything girly. I think a lot of girls go through this. Like puberty is a weird time as well. So, especially for a chick, getting boobs and all that was a weird experience. But yeah, no, I just don't think that I've had like the really strongly feminine role models in my life. And so I guess I am a little bit curious. And then also, I am trying to do more of the gothy kinds of stuff, like the cyber goth, and also with my band coming along. I mean, so there's my solo project, which is more that industrial, not exactly cyber goth, but I would wear the cyber goth stuff doing that. And then there's my metal band, which is starting to, like, you know, we've got a good number of songs mostly written, and so I guess we're getting close to the next stage. And you know, we got to get on stage at some point, and if we do photo shoots and all that, yeah, we could pay a makeup artist, but if I knew how to do my own makeup in an interesting way, then, like, you know, I could play with it more and I wouldn't have to rely on someone else. Or I don't know, it would just be interesting to know more about what's possible as well. So even if I don't do it myself, I would know how to speak to a makeup artist and be like, hey, this is what we're after. I don't know, I think it would be interesting. And then, yeah, trying to wear makeup more often. I think I'm going to get bored at some point just doing this. And, you know, wanting to change it up a bit. And even if I don't go anywhere, like practicing, because I'm doing YouTube, I can just wear the makeup for YouTube and then I'll feel like it wasn't a waste of time. I think sometimes I don't want to dress up because it feels like if I'm not going anywhere, why not just stay in day pajamas? Why, like, you know, if I dress up, I should go out. But yeah, as someone who just spends a lot of time at home, then I never dress up. And I have this huge wardrobe of stuff because I had that fashion collab for ages. And so now I've got like an overflowing wardrobe of things that I just haven't had a chance to wear. Pandemic didn't help, but like I'm not really making an effort to go out wearing stuff, to the point that I can't even remember all the different clothes I have and like what feels good on what particular day, what kind of weather, the practicalities of wearing some of these things. So like the makeup thing is just another idea in terms of like stepping up my game, trying to use my appearance to change how I feel about myself. Because the other thing is, I've been doing all the therapy. I tried the medication, my body can't handle it. So I've been doing all the therapy and I've been doing all the like digging into my childhood and digging into my trauma kinds of stuff. And none of that has helped at this point. The like purely psychological approach isn't making me into a happier person or in any kind of way. So I don't know, maybe I'm clutching at straws here, going for a more physical route to try and change how I feel. There is, I don't know if it's a CBT thing or a different kind of therapy, but like that sort of behavioral activation thing. Now, I think it's hard when you have so little motivation, and I don't understand why I'm motivated right now, which I'll circle back to in a moment. But yeah, no, the behavioral activation idea is sort of where, okay, you don't feel like doing anything, but just do the thing anyway, and your brain sort of picks up on those patterns and picks up on what you're doing, and it's supposed to like retrain your brain by doing things. So I think that's what I'm aiming for. But in the past, when that's been suggested to me, it's been like, if I can't even get started, it's like how they say for mental health you should exercise more. But if you're like, there's a certain point of depression where just getting out of bed is enough of an effort. So it doesn't really take into account that. And, you know, some of the things that people suggest to me also don't understand how I am, who I am, what I'm interested in. So yeah, when people have suggested behavioral activation activities in the past, it's often been things that just don't work for me. Like, go for a swim. I don't like swimming, especially when I had colored hair, because that's a bad idea, especially if it's chlorine. And then you have to actually physically go somewhere. You have to like have a swimming costume, which I do have one buried somewhere. I don't even know if it still fits me. You have to have a swimming costume. You have to like, yeah, go to a place. Sometimes get changed depending on where it is. Yeah, you probably have to get changed there. Bit weird running around the neighborhood in just your swimmers. And then, like, you know, you go for the swim, and then you get out, and then you have to dry your fucking hair and dry your body, and then you have to come back, and it's like, that's a lot of steps for someone who's depressed. Go for a swim. Like, come on, be realistic. If I've been through periods where I spent a lot of time in bed and struggled to get out of bed, and you're telling me to go for a swim? Fuck off. So, yeah, there is a lot of stuff about behavioral activation that people don't understand. Severe mental illness, I guess. But so why is this working now? I don't know. This is the motivation question. Why am I motivated to do this? Maybe it's because like just doing the eyeliner and eyeshadow, I already have the product. It's already like, you know, I've probably had it for 10 years sitting in my little bathroom cabinety thingy. So it doesn't cost me any extra money because it's taking me forever to get through it anyway. And all I need to do is just, I take off my glasses, I do the thing, put the stuff on, wear it through the day, and then just use a bit of makeup remover to take it off at the end of the day. That's a lot easier than getting up, getting dressed, going somewhere, changing into swimmers, going for the swim, getting myself dry, changing back into you know. So maybe that's why the makeup thing seems easier, and because such a simple thing did change like how I'm seeing myself and like did trigger that darker part of me to be like, oh, this is interesting. And I wonder if getting that darker part of me involved, like I didn't even intentionally do it. Like usually to set that off, I would have to watch a particular kind of movie or something. But in this case, it was just like catching the glimpse of me. And you know, I think it helps if it's not with the glasses. The glasses is probably more the nerdier side of me. And you know, that also is comfortable compared to like, you know, contacts, you have to put them in, and then my contacts, I got them so that for when I'm going out, so they're a bit stronger, whereas when I'm around the house, I like to have a weaker prescription, just ever so slightly. Anyway, no, like just that little bit somehow was able to set off that part of my brain, which does seem to be more motivated, and which I have relied on in the past. Like there are periods of time where I was depressed, and especially like, you know, I went to music school because of that part of me, because I thought, look, I'm so depressed and I don't want to exist anymore, but there's this part of me that does want to exist. I should try and pursue what its interests are. So that's even how I ended up in music school. Like it does push me to do stuff. And I wonder if maybe like that part of me connecting with the makeup, maybe that's where the idea is coming from. I don't always know these things. But yeah, and maybe like, you know, looking at that, like, I think one of the problems with makeup when I was younger is it was boring, like seeing girls put on makeup and it kind of just makes them look the same, but with like a bit of photoshopping done. To me, that's boring. And it's like the same with mainstream fashion. It's just like, why are you bothering to dress like that? It just looks the same as everything else. I think maybe now, like, that I've been on the internet for a bit and I've seen how goth people and, like, alternative people do makeup, maybe that's got me a bit interested, because I was never interested in fashion until I found goth, and, you know, wearing the, like, darker stuff, which is definitely from that part of me. You know, I didn't give a crap about fashion except for that darker part of me. So much of that influences me. But yeah, no, seeing, like, even with the dress thing, like, you know, my grandma got me the pink dress and I'm just like, what is this shit? But then I come across, like, you know, nice gothic Lolita. There used to be this shop in Sydney called Shibuya, and yeah, there was this really nice gothic Lolita dress, which I still have. I hope it still fits me. And, you know, seeing that kind of stuff, like, oh, that's how I can be girly in a way that doesn't seem boring and pointless to me. I don't know why, like, you know, in theory it should still be pointless, but I guess because it connects to the darker part of me, suddenly it's interesting and I don't mind being feminine. Yeah, I think the sort of gothic, darker look, it taps into something that's quite deep in me that I guess I've, you know, I'm not always conscious of and that I can be in denial of. But then when it comes out, like, that is where the interest is. Like, I just can't do the mainstream thing. For whatever reason, the mainstream thing doesn't appeal. I don't know if I have, like, a need to be different or if it's just boring seeing the same shit all the time. I mean, you know, there's a lot of gothic stuff out there now. Why do I not feel disdain after seeing so many goth stuff? Like, there are very set styles and people do conform to particular goth vibes, but it's somehow like I'm not as put off by that compared to mainstream stuff. Maybe it's because, like, I still make it my own. Like, even with the cybergoth thing, I don't always dress like the rest of me cybergoth, and I don't do the whole, like, color coordinated fluffy leg warmer things. I just do my own version of cybergoth. Maybe it's the flexibility of goth that helps me do that. And when I say goth, you know, like, I mean dark alternative, because I know goth has a specific meaning for some people, especially the ones who were like stuck in the 80s and think you have to listen to 80s goth music to be a goth, instead of recognizing that it's evolved into its own aesthetic. But yeah, no, I'm just thinking, I just had that idea about the makeup thing, and I could up my makeup game, and that could be interesting. And I do think though some of it is very much that darker, more violent part of me, because like, why do I want to look different? It might be because that part of me is trying to see itself on my face. I don't know how I feel about that, because I'm less connected to it than I used to be, and it's been less of a part of my life in the past while, especially as I've been like processing trauma. I don't even know what that means really. Yeah, I like, and you know, therapy, like I'm still seeing my psychologist, but she doesn't have anything for me really. Like a lot of the things that I realize or that I try is just me coming up with my own stuff, like this makeup thing, like with the behavioral activation. I know that's a psychological theory, but the psychologist can't suggest anything to me. It's like my brain has to be like, hey, wouldn't this be an interesting idea? And yeah, like my last psych session, I was really depressed, and I was telling her about like how hopeless my life feels, and you know, got into some very morbid kind of stuff, and she didn't really have anything to say to me. And then I'm going to turn up tomorrow, because I'm filming this on a Thursday. I'm going to turn up tomorrow, and if I'm still like this tomorrow, because I never know, I go to bed, I wake up the next day, I could be completely different. I could be back to that depressed version of me. But if I turn up like this, it's gonna be kind of weird, because like, you know, what happened in 2 weeks, what really happened, and I don't actually know what happened. It's just in the last, yesterday and today, I seem to be doing better. And I haven't done anything special. Like I've actually been going to bed quite late, but then I started sleeping better, even though there's noise in the morning, and I don't know how to predict when that's going to happen. And then yeah, why am I feeling optimistic or energetic or motivated, or I don't really understand. Like this is the part of the mental illness. It's just like I don't understand myself, because I do go through this variable stuff, and I can be really like down in that hole, feeling so awful. And then today I'm like, no, this is great, I'm good, I'm fine. You know, I'm gonna do the thing. I don't think I feel excitement. Like I think I mentioned in you know, my t-shirt launch video, I mentioned the word excitement, but then I was thinking about it later, and I'm like, I don't actually really experience excitement though. Like I remember what excitement was like as a kid, very, very young. I remember not being able to sleep because I was excited, but I don't have that anymore. Like it's not that intensity. So when I say excited, I kind of mean it in like a detached way, or a bit like when someone says, oh, I hate this, or oh, I love this. They don't actually mean love or hate or anything that intense. It's just a way of speaking. So I think sometimes that's the same thing for me. No, it's difficult trying to work myself out. Anyway, so I don't even know if this idea will last, because if I do wake up differently tomorrow and suddenly decide it's a terrible idea, then I won't do it. But yeah, as for like what the actual course is, I've only done a very, very preliminary look at this point. And, you know, I saw, like, I did put the poll on my community tab, and so far people are just, the most votes are for like, yeah, this is a crazy idea, but do it anyway. I don't know if that'll change by the time this video goes live. But from a very brief look, there's like, you know, there is TAFE, but TAFE is like more like you have to go for weeks, and it's designed to get you into work as a makeup artist or in a beauty salon, which is not what I want to do. I'm just like curious for myself, curious for like how these things are even done. I know that I can't, like I do need a course, because for something like this, I can't just sit around and motivate myself to research it. I need like the class situation. That's just how my brain works, is if I'm in a structured setting, I learn better this kind of thing. Whereas like, you know, I'm not going to sit on YouTube watching endless makeup tutorials, because I feel like I wouldn't even know where to start with the basics, and then there's different people's opinions. There's no practical work. I don't even know where to buy brushes. It would be easier if someone just like gave me the information in like one consistent lesson or course or whatever. But yeah, no. So I'm not interested in the TAFE thing, but I did like find a couple of like makeup artist class things. And one of them, like it costs like $600 or $700, but they give you all the brushes, and it's just like a one-day thing, and they take you through all the basics. I'm like, maybe I could just do that one. I don't know if that I want to spend that much money, so I've got to like see what else is out there. But yeah, apparently there are like short courses or one-day courses, and maybe that'd be enough. Maybe that'd be enough to just help me understand even what products are. It would be targeted at mainstream people, but I imagine I need the basics to understand like how to even do the crazy goth stuff, which seems a bit more advanced and a bit more creative. But also like just learning about like what products are good as well, because I realized with some of this, like some of my struggles with makeup, and probably why I didn't progress further than this, is because I'm buying the cheap stuff. And you know, it's like with anything, like with paints, for example, I have spent most of my life painting with cheap student acrylics, and the problem with student acrylics, those cheap ones, is when they dry a slightly darker shade than what you thought it was, and that makes it very hard to get the colors right. So that's why expensive paint is worth it. And like, you know, there's other stuff like in terms of the texture of the paint, how easy it is to apply, and like how good your paintbrush is also important, because if you've got a cheap paintbrush, it like splinters everywhere and the shape gets all out of whack, whereas a good one will, you know, stay true and like do what it's supposed to. So same thing with makeup, and same thing with like the violin. If you have a really cheap shitty violin, it can be hard to play. If you get a good violin though, suddenly all these other techniques are opened up. Like everything is like that. So if I learned what are the better makeup types, like what do I even look for? I don't know. If someone could tell me that without me having to scour the internet for hours and hours, you know, just sit me down in one day, or like, you know, a couple of lessons over a few weeks, show me all the things, then maybe I can finally upgrade from this cheap stuff and just learn how to actually do something interesting. And it could be another form of creativity. I can use myself as a canvas. Interesting for YouTube as well, maybe. I don't know, we can see how we go. But yeah, all this depends on whether or not I stick to the idea. And I know this has been a long ramble about makeup and my psychology, and I've probably forgotten things. There's probably more I could have said. But that's kind of like sort of my initial ideas about should I try the makeup thing. Because I already have like clothes, I already have the wigs. I know where to go to get my hair done if I want to, which I kind of don't, because colored hair, I'm probably just going to go black and then install some dreads, and I don't know, we'll see. I'm trying to grow my hair out at the moment anyway. So yeah, the next thing is like, well, I don't really know how to do makeup, and I don't want to have to call a makeup artist every time I need to go on stage and I want to look a particular way. I mean, usually on stage, I just wear this, and I don't care, because like I know that the lights will kind of wash out my face, and then it'll make me look really pale, and then you just see my eyes and like some of my features, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. That suits my sort of like kind of pale goth kind of thing, unnatural in that way. It's interesting. Like I know a bit about stage makeup because I did do the ballet stuff, and also like when I was older I was at a dance school, like in high school. Yeah, I did a bit of that, and they were saying like, you know, don't use certain colors because they don't look good on stage, and then also do it this way, and like the lights wash you out, so you've got to do this to make your face look like it has features. And so yeah, I'm not too concerned about like on stage normally, but it depends, because I don't know what image our band is going to have. I am the vocalist. I do need to like represent us. That's my job. So here I come back to some of the detached reasons to do something like this, rather than I want to look good, or like, you know, self-esteem or whatever. I don't know what mainstream women think when they want to have makeup, but you know, I am sort of like, oh, this is my job, this is what I have to do, this is my duty, here's a like very detached reason to wear makeup. But yeah, no, I do need to be able to do that, and like maybe we'll have a band member who knows how to do interesting makeup and they could do it for me, but it's better not to rely on that, and maybe it could be an interesting skill to have, or at least have the knowledge. It would satisfy my curiosity about what even are people doing. But yeah, no, being self-reliant, I guess. I tend to learn things to the point that I can do something for myself. So like same with music, I learned like audio engineering up to the point where I could do demos that I'm happy with. And I realized I didn't want to actually be an audio engineer, but I learned enough to do myself. With Photoshop and all that kind of design stuff, I learned enough to do the things that I wanted to do. Like designing Rainbow Death Ray's EP cover and getting it print ready. Like all these things I kind of learned just so that it achieves a goal that I'm interested in, rather than whatever the world wants from me. But yeah, I don't know, I think that's probably a decent overview. Oh my god, I've been rambling for 35 minutes. yeah, I think that's probably most of the reasons. But if I think of any more, maybe I'll make some updates and we'll see. I've also thought about just experimenting at home with this cheap eyeliner because it is so cheap. I can, you know, and it's so cheap that when I sharpen it, I need to get a new sharpener, but also when I sharpen it, the like wood bits of the pencil start flaking off, and it's like I have to be careful. I have to make sure it's kind of clean before I put it in my eye so that none of these chips get in my eye. Oh my god. Now, one concern about makeup though is like I did used to have bad acne. I think that might have been partly like androgens, like a bit of too much testosterone in my system, you know, because that can trigger pimples. And so since I've been on the pill, like I'm officially on the pill for acne, because the type of pill I'm on is, there's a risk of like blood clots or something, but I have low blood pressure, so it's not an issue. But yeah, officially I'm on it for acne. Rather than period pain, but I'm really taking it for period pain. But I think it did help clear up my skin, and I'm also on it back to back now. I don't have periods anymore, I skip them all. So yeah, I think that's helped my skin, but I guess having had that history of bad acne, and like at times it can be painful, I do worry a bit that like caking my face with foundation and whatever else, I forget all the other names for things. It's kind of scary how many layers go on sometimes. But yeah, I do worry a bit because I don't really wash my face every day. I kind of just have a shower once a week. But on the other hand, if I was wearing makeup, like just the act of having to clean it off kind of is washing your face. So maybe I don't need to worry about that. But that's just like, that's one anxiety, one more practical anxiety related to my comfort, because I do tend to go for comfort rather than looks most of the time. That's probably the last concern that I really had. I'm not too concerned about money at the moment because it has taken me so long. Like I've got this probably 10-year-old makeup, and I do have like the current eyeliner pencil that I've got. I've also got another one lined up after that. I just must have bought a whole bunch of stuff way back. So yeah, I'm not too concerned about like wasting it or whatever by practicing this every day or every day that I can be bothered. Yeah, and you know, I'm living with my parents, so, and I'm definitely screwed up, so I don't really have financial stresses. I can afford to do it. Just like, should I? Is this a crazy idea? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Whether there's anything else I haven't thought of. Maybe any other arguments for why I should do it. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, I don't know how long this idea is going to last. I guess we'll see.